Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What's happening? Welcome back to the garden, everybody. So, today I have something that I'm going to experiment with, right? And that is going to be a Hugelkulture. I can never say I don't know why. Hugelkulture bin. The reason I'm doing it inside of a bin is simply because it looks better when the bins are full than half full, if you know what I mean. All right. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. You see how these bins are half full? They're a little bit more than half, but for all intents purposes, they're about half full, right? And they look fine, but I think they'll look better if I had them more full, like they were closer to the top as far as the soil level. I think they'll just look better. So it's really for the aesthetic. That's really the reason why I'm going with the Hugelkulture method in these bins specifically, is just for the aesthetics. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's only for the aesthetics. I think it's gonna just look better with them almost to the top. Okay. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Hugelkulture method, all that is like it's an old method of planting where I guess if they didn't have the structures or the beds or whatever, what they did was they created hills or mounds of growing material. Growing. What is material? Somebody please tell me. Fill me in. I think I just crossed medium and material and came up with materium. So we're gonna go with that, right? No, we're not. No, we're not. So they would they would mound growing medium or materials to create these uh, earth beds of sorts, right? So think of it like they would lay down logs. Uh, Sometimes they would be, I guess, fresh. Sometimes they would be decaying. I don't know, but they would lay down these logs, and then from the logs they would build up. They would stack up. So they would have logs, and then they would have something else on top of that, and then something else on top of that, and they would mound them as high as they saw fit to actually grow in. And that's what the term Hugelkultur means in German, is like hill or mound culture, right? So that's what we're going to be emulating by doing this method inside the bins. We're going to just take the materials, stack them inside the bins, and we're going to start growing in them. So the bins that we're going to be doing today are going to be used for sweet potatoes, more sweet potatoes. All right, and I might do it in the future for the other bins, but they're already half full. I don't feel like emptying them out and then start like going back and doing it again. Like even at the end, we'll see how I feel at the end of the season. Things can change. Things are always subject to change. So we'll play it by ear at the end of the season to see if that's something that I want to do. All right, but for today, excuse me, what we're going to be doing is prepping these bins and getting them ready for some Hugelkulture action. All right, so here we go. So, like I said before, one of the things that they do with the Hugelkulture method is they go in with dead logs, dead trees, and they fill they establish the base of the mound or the raised bed with these trees, right? Um, so they establish the mound or the raised bed with these tree stumps. Okay, uh, and then from there they start to layer. So we don't have a lot of tree material right now at our disposal. So rather than using that material, I'm going to use what I do have. That's what gardening's all about, right? Sometimes you just got to make do with what you have to get the job done. So I'm going to use what I do have, which is a bunch of wood chips. Okay, so I was at Walmart months ago, about 6 months ago, and um, there was a tree trimming company. They were actually trimming back some of the trees in the parking lot, and I was like, hey, Chip Drop has let me down. I've been on their list now for like 2 years and haven't heard anything from them. So I was like, hey, do you guys need a place to dump these wood chips? They were like, yes. I was like, listen, I stay a mile up the road. You can drop them off there. Here's the address. Here's exactly where I want you to put them. So they were able to deliver us 2 loads of the wood chips. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, and I appreciate that. So I'm gonna just use that now. Here's the key. So I heard that you're not that it's not that you're not supposed to, but it's better if you don't use hardwoods as the log or wood chip portion of this method. I guess they don't break down as quickly. So, um, but like I said, that's not gonna affect me mentally right now as far as my plan and my reasoning for using the wood chips, because like I said, I know there's an added benefit to having the logs and allowing them to break down, but I'm not looking for that benefit right now because number one, I'm not in a raised bed, so it's not I don't think it's gonna draw as much like of the worms and stuff into this thing as it would if it was in a raised bed. And number two, I'm just using this, like I said, for the aesthetic. I want to use less material to fill the bins as I can. So I'm going to fill the bottom of it with the wood chips. And I think that's okay. Think that's going to be just fine. All right. And just real quick, off topic, just want to show you guys real quick. I think our garlic is about done cooking, y'all. It's starting to lean over, starting to brown out. They used to stand up a lot taller than that. It could be that they're dry, but I think because we just came out and watered like a day or two ago, and it hasn't been hot. It was actually cool the last couple of days, but I think this garlic is about done cooking. So you can stand by for a video for that in the near future. Like I said, it's just for the aesthetics. It's for the aesthetics, and so that I don't have to use as much growing material to fill up the bin. Right, so I'm going to use these mesquite wood chips that we have, and mesquite is definitely a hardwood. Because boy, I tried to cut that stuff with a saw. I know. I need a reciprocating saw, not a hand saw. That stuff is hard. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna be using. That's what I have. That's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use some wood chips at the bottom. All right. So you guys in the comments, please let me know. Have you guys ever used a hardwood? Have you ever done the Hugelkulture method? And if so, have you ever used a hardwood? And how did it turn out? I don't think it's gonna make a difference, to be honest with you. I'm gonna collect some wood chips. I'm gonna throw those in the bottom of the bin. Actually, I'm gonna make it about uh 3/4. My original plan is to fill it about not 3/4, a third of the way of the bin. To fill the bottom third of the bin with the wood chips, and then fill the next third with the next 2/3 with good growing material. I have already started this project. I already did it. I had already started it, but halfway through it, once I got to filling filling the bins with the medium, I realized that I didn't have as much um, of the composted manure as I thought I did. So I had to run and grab some more of that, and then come back and finish up. So this is actually like a couple of days later. So that's why you're gonna see me wearing two different hats and two different shirts. At this point, these bins are already filled with the wood chips, and like I said, I didn't have as much of the manure as I thought I did, so had to make a run and grab some more. So all we did was went and grabbed some of this composted cow manure from another local source that's like 5 miles away, and is instead of like the 20 miles away that we normally travel to go get the super poop. So that's great right there, right? Much closer. But this is only composted cow manure. So it's no duck, no goose, no rabbit, no dog, no pterodactyl, no mermaid, unicorn, stuff like that. So just pure cow manure. And all we did was come over here. This is some old potting mix from last year. Not even potting mix. This is the compost from last year that we got from the city. We had the compost from last year and some composted manure. I added some perlite It's about 50-50 mix on that. Then we added some 70-30% cocoa coir perlite mix and some additional perlite to try to thin it out because that compost can become really um, compacted once it gets wet, and we're trying to avoid that compaction, right? So we added that mix to the composted manure in the compost, and then we threw that inside of the bin. Okay, now and that's going to make up the growing medium layer of this Hugelkulture method. We added that mix to the compost and the composted manure. That's going to make up the middle third, the other 2/3 or 1/3 of the container volume. And then from there, I'm going to amend the soil with some fertilizers, with some bone meal, with some langobite or langobardinite, however you say that stuff. I'm going to add some of that stuff, which is, I'm adding stuff that's higher in phosphorus and potassium because that's what potatoes like more of when they're growing, right? They like more phosphorus and potassium. So I'm going to add those. I added those to the mix as well. After I did the first bin, the only thing that I saw myself doing differently on the last bin was I was going to put more of the wood chips at the bottom than 1/3. So I went a half of the bin up with the wood chips because when I did 1/3, 1/3, I still had too much room left between the soil level and the top of the bin. And I'm gonna show you guys that in a minute. But so on the last bin, what I ended up doing was I ended up going up uh, half the bin with wood chips, and then the other half was the grow medium, and it's to the level that I like because I still have some room to mulch, which would eat up some more space, a few more inches of space, and I think the bins look a lot more fuller and just aesthetically pleasing, having that much wood chip, that much more wood chips in the bottom half instead of in the bottom 1/3. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we had to come through the day after I planted these sweet potato slips. The next 2 or 3 days was full of nothing but high winds, and it was blowing stuff all over the place. Hence the fact that we got some pots, some planters over here that the wind just blew stuff, just had its way, right? It was yeah, it was a problem. But all three of these bins are not sweet potatoes. This bin on the end, that's sweet potatoes. That bin on that end is a sweet potato, and this one in the middle I was going to reserve for 1 or 2 watermelons, like we talked about in the previous video. But let me show you the first one I did first, which was this one here. I had to cover it with plastic because the wind, I didn't want them to kill off the slips, but it looks like I may have been a little too late. But see how, like, with 1/3 full, this is still pretty low to me, and I don't like that level. And the slips don't look like they're doing too hot. Like this one is already dead. Yeah, that's woody. This one is dead. This one is dead. This one is gone. That one looked like it's trying to leave, but these two look like they can bounce back. They can recover pretty well, so we'll see how that goes. But I got more slips to throw in here. And that's the same problem I've had every year is the first ones I plant I always lose them. Oh, what am I looking at? Oh, my bad. I always lose the first batch I plant. But you guys see how the level, I'm trying to see, the sun is really messing me up right now. That level of soil that's in there as compared to this one, as compared to this one is much higher, right? So by the time I add a inch or two of mulch, the level's can be up there, right? But these slips look like they're having a little transplant shock. This one, this one was already like this when I planted it. I just wanted to see if it would do anything different, if it would bounce back. But the rest of them appear to be okay for now. So we'll see. We'll monitor and see what happens. There we go. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. These things acting like babies right now. It's I'm gonna use some water. I watered them in when I planted them. They're not dry, but another day or two and it probably will be. But this bin looks a lot better to me in terms of soil level. So, like I said, in the end, with this one, I just added more wood chips at the bottom, and then I added my soil, my growing medium, uh, to the rest of it, and that's what we got. Just wanted to show you guys that as we continue on our gardening journey for this year, prepping everything. We don't have nowhere near all the stuff that we're going to plant this year. We don't have nowhere near all of that stuff in right now, but we're working on it. We're almost there. I feel like we're so far behind, but we're not. We're not. I normally don't start throwing stuff in the ground until this time of year, anyway, because of like what happened the other day with the surprise wind and temperature drop. It dropped down to the 50s. So normally I don't start until mid April anyway. But for some reason I just feel like I'm behind in everything with the garden related stuff. Probably because by now I'm normally done with the prep stuff, and I'm still doing a lot of the prep stuff. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Um, if you guys have never experimented with the Hugelkulture method, maybe this video will encourage you to do so. I don't know. I will definitely keep y'all informed on in terms of like how effective it is, whether it works or not. If I can keep my sweet potato slips alive, things will probably go pretty well, right? But like I said, I appreciate you guys for watching. If this is your first time stopping by, please consider subscribing. If it's not, and you watched this video and you enjoyed it and you want to support the channel, please, by all means, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Um, hit the subscribe button. We will see you guys in the next video. And here's another video for you guys to watch to follow us on our gardening journey. See y'all in the next one. Deuces.